we get finally the culmination of this project. Victor has been trying to find out what the nature of life is, what makes things tick, what is at the heart of nature, of life. It's the same project that the Enlightenment actually set itself, to find out what makes the machine work. And by running on the premise that it's a machine, finding out how you can manipulate it to improve it and make it better. In Chapter 5, we get the culmination of this project. And notice the physical imagery that Mary Shelley gives us in this chapter. She starts off by saying, "It's a dreary night of November that I beheld the accomplishment of my toils." So it's raining, it's dreary. It's near the end of the year, November. So it's a cold night as well. Plus the element of darkness. We've got water, darkness, they're close to the end of the year. They're all significant to what is created and what the nature of that creation is. As it says here, 1 in the morning it was, that the rain pattered dismally against the panes, and my candle was nearly burnt out, when by the glimmer of the half-extinguished light I saw the dull yellow eye of the creature open. It breathed hard, and a convulsive motion agitated its limbs. So in the middle of the night, 1 in the morning, and his candle's almost out, the light, the fire, which in some ways is a metaphor for his own life, is almost gone, and suddenly the creature comes to life himself, wakes up, the eye opens and the creature moves, and he's discovered how to make this thing move and operate. Now, if you want to look at it in a slightly more complex way, his creation of the creature, which is like a double of himself, is like Walton's creation of Victor, which is like, if you will, the artist's creation of his artwork. Notice in this creation of the creature that Victor is creating him with lightning and rain all about. There's water imagery predominant in this scene, but there's also that imagery of lightning or fire from heaven. That's a mythological reference. It's a reference to the power of Zeus, which Prometheus seizes in the story of Prometheus. See, in that story, Prometheus goes to create humans out of clay. And once they are created, they are running about and they're suffering because they have no tools to preserve them in the world. And so he grabs fire from the sky and he brings it down to them, and that changes how they're able to operate in the world. That fire represents the intellect, the power of creativity and being able to create machinery and tools to survive. When Prometheus grabs the fire of Zeus, then, he's grabbing the ability of humans to think outside the box, to create things and change the world and alter the world. It's imagination itself and creativity itself. A similar image is here, that Victor actually is working in the midst of a lightning storm, and he uses electricity to charge a being out of, essentially, clay, a creature out of clay. So he is, again, the modern Prometheus in this creation here. But this creature is not something which Victor says, "Oh, I'm so glad to have created you, buddy. Here you are." Rather, this creation, he says, is a catastrophe. The minute that he creates the thing, he's appalled by it. But it's not something that's appalling because it's hideous. He doesn't hate the creature because it's ugly. In fact, he says quite the contrary. His limbs were in proportion, and I had selected his features as beautiful. Beautiful! Great God! His yellow skin scarcely covered the work of muscles and arteries beneath. His hair was of a lustrous black and flowing, his teeth of a pearly whiteness, but these luxuriances only formed a more horrid contrast with his watery eyes, that seemed almost of the same color as the dun white sockets in which they were set, his shriveled complexion and straight black lips. So Victor says that he's beautiful, and yet the description is of somebody who has pale skin, thin, dark hair, sharp features. I suppose he looks a bit like young Lord Byron, or perhaps like Percy Bysshe Shelley, which is perhaps unfair, but nevertheless Mary Shelley does seem to be embodying something of the element of Lord Byron in that creature. It's as though he's described also, if you can imagine, the Valentino, the early movie star, who had the black lips and the black eyes in a black and white movie. It's like that, or it's like something out of a dream that she describes here. But Victor is describing the creature as beautiful, and yet a catastrophe, something that is beyond horrible, because it has life where no life should be. And immediately he finds himself repulsed. Now that I had finished, the beauty of the dream vanished, and breathless horror and disgust filled my heart. Unable to endure the aspect of the being I had created, I rushed out of the room, continued a long time traversing my bedchamber, unable to compose my mind to sleep. When at last he does sleep, he has dreams of a most startling nature, and it's important to look at the dream itself because I think it's somewhat key to understanding what Victor's going through. I thought I saw Elizabeth, in the bloom of health, walking in the streets of Ingolstadt. Delighted and surprised, I embraced her, but as I imprinted the first kiss on her lips, they became livid with the hue of death. Her features appeared to change, and I thought that I held the corpse of my dead mother in my arms. A shroud enveloped her form, and I saw the grave worms crawling in the folds of the flannel. He has this horrible dream of Elizabeth, where not only is she and his mother, they become one entity, but where Elizabeth dies because he touches her. He's the pariah, see? He's the horror. He's the creature. He's the thing which causes death now. In his attempt to create life, to play the role of God, has made him the monster. And I think that's significant. The very first victims, if you will, of this vision of the machine within a machine, the very first victims are those who are weaker in society. The children, the crippled, the old, women even. And we see that as happening over and over in the history of the past 200 years. Who has suffered the most from the tremendous wars that we've had, or the tremendous outbreak of pornography, or the tremendous outbreak of violence? It's been the weaker people in society. This is almost a complete flip of the whole chivalric scheme, where the chivalric scheme was to channel the strength and violent nature of men to protect people who were weaker and more valuable to our society. Women, children, the old were considered to be more valuable in our society, and men were to put their strength at the service of those people. In the modern era, in the Enlightenment era, that's been flipped. It's been altered. And Victor, in seeking out the heart of the machine, has become the bringer of death, as is witnessed in his dream here. Immediately waking from the dream then, he has a horrible encounter with a creature. I started from my sleep with horror. A cold dew covered my forehead. My teeth chattered, and every limb became convulsed, when by the dim and yellow light of the moon, as it forced its way through the window shutters, I beheld the wretch, the miserable monster whom I had created. He held up the curtain of the bed, and his eyes, if eyes they may be called, were fixed on me. His jaws opened, and he muttered some inarticulate sounds, while a grin wrinkled his cheeks. He might have spoken, but I did not hear. One hand was stretched out seemingly to detain me, but I escaped and rushed downstairs. So he awakes and he sees the creature reaching out to him and trying to utter something, like a child reaching out for daddy in the night. Or, if you will, the reference is probably to a painting by Fuseli as well. Fuseli was a painter of the same era as Mary Shelley, and Shelley probably saw his work. And he has a number of paintings, one of which is The Nightmare, which shows the image of a nightmarish creature on the chest of a woman. And that image of nightmare, of the creature reaching out from darkness, is very much this image of the creature here reaching out for Victor. Victor sees his own creation as something horrible, stretching out from the dark recesses of the subconscious to try and grab him. And he flees in terror, consequently. And he is shaken for many days afterwards. Victor feels as though he's a condemned man, a man in hell. And the reference here is a reference to Samuel Coleridge's Mariner, again, where he says, like one who on a lonely road doth walk in fear and dread, and having once turned round walks on, and turns no more his head, because he knows a frightful fiend doth close behind him tread. That reference to the Mariner here that Victor makes is similar to the reference that Robert Walton makes in the story, in the letters to his sister, in the frame of the story. And so, it again, sort of a confirmation that what we're seeing in Victor is not terribly removed from Robert Walton. Well, Victor then sees his friend Henry Clerval, and Henry, who comes to help him, nurses him back to health over time. He shows him the story of mankind again, takes him outside, shows him the world, brings him back to health. And this then shows the contrast between Henry, I think, and Victor. But for a long time, Victor is almost lifeless himself after this encounter with this creature. And it takes a character like Henry, the chivalric character, the character of myth and story, to begin to bring back to life the man who has sought the secret of life and has himself become instead the bringer of death.